April the 17th, year 2000, and we are just 1 year removed, give or take, from Chris Jericho's WWF debut. Now, you might remember that as a seminal moment in the Monday Night Wars, but it was a debut that left both him and management quite unimpressed. No, that's genuinely true. In his second autobiography entitled Undisputed: How to Become World Champion in 1,372 Days, I think Jericho retrospectively buried his debut performance. In his eyes, he leaned way too far into comedy. But go and watch the YouTube clip back at some point. As the countdown to the millennium reaches 0, the hairs on the back of your neck will still stand on end. Doesn't matter how many times you rewatch it, how many times you see it, how much time passes, the magic in that moment is still there. Jericho gets an absolutely monster pop when he's finally revealed, and he delivers a promo that was good enough to go toe-to-toe with The Rock, who was doing, if you recall, the best in the world on the mic shtick at that particular moment. The top comment on that clip is "Coolest debut I have ever seen." 1.4 thousand likes. But was it? Now, if we're going to be as critical about that as Chris Jericho himself is, he goes out there, delivers no less than 5 catchphrases in the opening minute. That's not particularly good. He stumbles over his words a couple of times. That's not particularly good. And he just buries the WWF the entire way through to get his whole deluded, arrogant, uber heel thing over. Also not great. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is the stuff of a very entertaining mid-card heel, yes, but it did precisely nada to endear him to all his new colleagues in the back, his new colleagues who were megastars. By the way, The Undertaker, Triple H, all of them were sat watching that, wondering who in the blue this WCW cruiserweight thought he was. According to Chris Jericho himself, he failed to strike the balance of a character which was already precariously placed in the eyes of Vince McMahon. Like, let's not forget, before he actually bought out WCW, he was sometimes reluctant to import characters directly over from it. But what made fans, and in particular pre-teen me, fall in love with the character was that he could talk like a showman and still wrestle like a magician. Like, in our eyes, in the eyes of a lot of fans, that is the perfect wrestler, but it absolutely repels Vince McMahon. Sometimes we see a maverick, he sees a self-indulgent mess. It wasn't just in front of the crowd that he was having this problem either. Like, backstage, and bear in mind these are all Jericho's words, not mine, he didn't get the balance right there either. He wanted to position himself as ambitious and confident, but he just came off as arrogant and hot. Basically, everybody saw him as too big for his boots because of his ego, but also too small for his boots because of his size. And it's that last point that started to snowball everything for him. Management encouraged Jericho to wear big, thick lifts in his shoes to make him appear taller. Now, yes, this did have that effect, but it also made it very hard to work, and his matches started becoming a bit sloppy. He'd fall off the top rope, he'd miss his kicks, he'd stumble when he was running. Even I, tender young me, started to notice that, and so did everybody else. So that meant we had Jericho, this allegedly spectacular workhorse, delivering sloppy, underwhelming matches all of a sudden. And to borrow a phrase, if the short guy can't work, pal, what good is he? Thus, as the months passed by, so too did Jericho's main event prospects. He hung in there, he persevered, even though Vince was routinely chewing him out at the time. But there just came this match on Raw in, I think, November, where he lost to Gangrel, of all people, and China was at ringside talking about cutting his dick off, and it just really looked like that was it for him. It looked like it had all failed before it even got off the ground. But if having 2 women stood at ringside talking about choppy Mr. PP while you're getting beaten into the mid-card will teach you anything, it is a bit of humility. And Jericho coupled that with a genuinely really solid feud against China and started to slowly turn all those lemons into lemonade. Sadly, not in time for WrestleMania 2000. Remember, he had initially been scheduled to be in the main event, but they replaced him with The Big Show, which was good. Thus, having proved something to McMahon in that feud with China, this resurgent Jericho was given a program with Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and they both sharpened his iron before the company started to think, do you know what, maybe, just maybe this guy is the main event player he thinks he is. Thus, the events of April 17th, 2000 were an experiment of sorts by WWE. Having long since turned babyface, Jericho was able to hoodwink Triple H into a WWF Championship match by referring to his wife as a trash bag hoe. Jericho immediately smothered Triple H in an all-out assault of a brawl, the sort that electrified the wider WWF fanbase. This was Jericho acclimatizing to the main event scene while at the same time adding a new aerial dimension to it. Jericho wore his proper boots on the night as opposed to the clumsy lifts Vince McMahon had ordered him to wear. At ringside, the Acolytes acted as Jericho's protection from the McMahon-Helmsley regime and resident pissant Shane McMahon. This was a time when the roster itself was balanced perfectly under the narrative wizardry of writer Chris Krensky. That's a man who doesn't draw a latter-day cult, but probably should. Jericho lit up the Pennsylvania crowd with his aerial attacks. Trips, on career form as a big bumping but formidable heel ace, responded with a series of illegal punches. The in-ring action matched superbly the dramatic heft of the shared universe angle. Trips dangled Jericho in the air before smashing him to the canvas with a suplex, as if to tell the obnoxious brat that he, not Jericho, pulled the strings here. At this point, Jericho rolled out of Danger's mouth, his own bloodied. The wrestling gods themselves rewarded his excellent babyface performance with the consummate visual of babyface sympathy. Jericho timed his comebacks to perfection, pulling a now white-hot crowd into the drama of a missile dropkick near fall. Triple H bumped referee Mike Chioda, leading to a turnabout is fair play belt shot and a nail-biting near fall. Earl Hebner, tortured by the regime in the preceding weeks, took it upon himself to take charge of the situation that had, by now, descended into classic molten Attitude Era chaos. Hebner, exasperated, shoved Triple H. Triple H decked him with a shove of his own, allowing Jericho to land a spinning heel kick, a lion salt, and, to the lion's roar of the crowd, the WWF Championship for about half an hour. A furious Triple H, who remember at the time held all the cards in the company, forced Hebner to both acknowledge the fast count and then later reverse the decision, which Hebner, fair play to him, only agreed to do provided Triple H assured him he would never again physically harm him, which is fine, except for one more thing, pal, Triple H said on his way out of the ring. Your ass is fired. And young me, sat at home way past his bedtime on a Friday night watching all of this on Sky Sports 1, could not believe it. Now, at the time, I was absolutely distraught seeing all this, but when you watch it back, it's just this incredible marriage of angle and action. Like, it solidifies Jericho as a main event wrestler, and it solidifies Triple H as this mega unforgivable bastard heel. Plus, and this is really depressing, when you watch it back, they do more to develop the character of a referee in one night than they do over the course of weeks with some of the most talented wrestlers on the planet now. Yeah. This is, and can I say this? Yeah, alright, this is the greatest Dusty finish of all time, in my opinion, because not a single person leaves that arena under any doubt that Jericho had legitimately made it as a WWF champion, even if he didn't have the gold to prove it. You see, for the most part, right, Jericho's initial WWF run just didn't click at all, but then on April 17th, 2000, he clicked it like a goddamn pen and then used that to write sports entertainer all over his already long list of accomplishments. We're now some, 19 years removed from it, but the match still stands as this totem to what a brilliant performer Chris Jericho is and what a brilliant, genius, intricate narrative writer Chris Kresge was back then. Like, it wasn't the launch pad to this lasting main event run. I don't think that happened until, his second stint in the company, but it was proof, finally, that this guy might be everything he'd been telling WWF he was going to be. Finally.
Hello, WhatCulture. My name is Simon Miller, and today I have an announcement so big, so huge, it's gonna shatter the very foundations of your life to the point you may need to phone up a friend and say, I don't even know who I am anymore. I have just heard the news. Have you heard the news? I've heard you out there. I've seen you've been commenting. I've read your tweets, and I can now officially let you know that if you do enjoy Raw ups and downs, if you do enjoy SmackDown ups and downs, that now you'll be able to set your watches to them. You'll be able to make notes in your calendars, because we're going to have an official time for when they're going to go live. I know, massive. So Ups and Downs for Raw will go live at 2 p.m. GMT, that's British time, every Tuesday, and they will go live at 2 p.m. GMT every Wednesday. for SmackDown. So you don't have to be aimlessly walking around anymore going, what do? I want to know what got up and what got down and what Seth Rollins did or what AJ Styles is up to. Now you know, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesdays, ups and downs coming at you in the face. I realise what I just said, retract that, keep moving on, and I hope to see you there soon. And I hope that we build an audience so big that if I ever wanted to march an army anywhere in the world, I could, and we'd call it the Ups and Downs Army, because I haven't come up with a better name.
So yes, there you have it, Chris Jericho's brilliant WWF Championship victory that sadly never was. If you told 12-year-old me watching this that I'd be telling the world about it sometime in my 30s, I would not have believed you. Let's put it like that. Anyway, let us know what you made of it all in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching. I have of course been Adam Cleary, and I will see you soon. Bye. Bye.